Hi, everybody. Susan Ray is here with us today, and she's going to share with us a little bit about, uh, I guess, her takeaways or her perspective looking back on 2020. So, thank you, Susan, for giving us some words of encouragement. We're actually in Raleigh at a North Carolina leaders meeting, so we're masked and being careful. But I wanted to just take this time to ask you. You were sharing some thoughts about your reflections from 2020, and maybe you could share with us one of your takeaways.
Okay, well, I've like a lot of us, I've been listening to Bema podcast,
Mhm,
and
yep.
one of the things in there just really inspired me about this COVID time is that that image of being in the desert and how God took His people into the desert to get the Egypt out of them, because He took His people out of Egypt, but He needed to get Egypt out of them,
Right.
meaning the things that they relied on, like people and just the things that they knew and the ways that they knew of meeting their needs.
Mhm.
So He took all that away and took them in the desert, and that idea of God leading them through the desert and giving them just enough.
Right.
Because another thing was like the shepherd, and we think about a shepherd leading his flock in a pasture,
Right.
that's all green.
Like in Ireland. It's
Yeah.
just these rolling hills of grass.
Yes, but that's not how it was. It was really in the desert, and the shepherd would lead his flock to little tufts of grass.
Right.
And he would take them to the grass, and they would get just enough. And he would, provide water for them, but it was just enough. And he did that with his people. He took them in the desert. He gave them just enough manna for that day. He gave them water when they absolutely couldn't go on without it. He gave them water just enough at just the right time. And, just that idea of a shepherd leading his flock, and even that when you're, when you're thinking about the sheep and how they would hear the sound of the shepherd's voice, and the shepherd would, when the shepherd called them, they heard the sound of their shepherd's voice and they obeyed it. And that shepherd would guide them and give them exactly what they need. So, it's kind of that way for us now with COVID. A lot of the things that we were used to relying on in the world are not there. The people, the fellowship, the meeting in the church building, all that stuff is not there. So God is leading us through this desert. He's given us just enough fellowship, just enough, in His Word, just enough.
But we want to know what's next.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice, but now what?
No, but you got to learn to listen to the shepherd's voice.
Susan and I also had the opportunity of going to Jerusalem together, and it is amazing to think, because I remember driving and you remember looking at all that rocky area, and then they'd say, oh, there's some shepherds.
Yes.
And you just go, huh. So what are they eating? Because it just looks like a bunch of rock.
Yeah.
But you're right, it was just these little grass patches. And
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's it.
And the sheep had to trust the shepherd to show them where to eat.
Right. And then the passage you were sharing with us, it came out of John 10, I think it was.
Let's see. It's the one who enters the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run from him because they do not recognize the stranger's voice.
Amen. All right, sisters, let's be sure we're listening for God's voice in our life and help each other do the same. Have a great week.